Yo, what's going on, Hero Clutch? Welcome back to a brand new S Plus video. Yes, we're going over the gems and the talents for all the S Plus heroes for the Tree Spirit faction. Let's do this. Without further ado, sit back, relax, thumb up the video, subscribe, and enjoy. Here we go. So first things first, you're gonna want to go to your good old S Plus hero, and
Someone lost their way.
I highly recommend you understand what these heroes do before making any critical decisions when it comes to upgrading gems and talents. With that being said, here we go. So when it comes to Lei and her gem codex, aka all her gems, remember she can have 6, 2 lights, 2 darks, and 2 mix. Now when it comes to having light stones on her, I recommend 100% Dove Stone. You get the attack and the damage reduction. I think that's awesome. I think that's amazing. I think that's absolutely key when it comes to her, and it's going to play a magical part in the near future when I talk about strategies with certain heroes, especially Tree Spirit. Whew, I can't wait for that series. But anyways, now moving on to her dark stones, I 100% recommend probably Dragonstone or Malachite, because you get the HP and you get the armor penetration, okay? And then for the mix stone, I 100% recommend the Galaxy Stone because you get the HP and attack. I think she's one of those heroes where you do want to focus on attack. However, you don't want her to have a super low HP because, like I said, she's a Tree Spirit, and the longer she goes into a game, it just might be better off depending on your strategy and depending on who the enemy is, okay? Now moving on to her talents, as you can see, when it comes to the first skill, I would go with Calm Composure. If there are 3 or more enemies, increase armor pen by 6% and damage reduction by 6% for 1 turn. I think that's key because right off the bat, guess what? You're getting that 6% buff for armor pen and damage reduction, okay? Moving on to the 5-star gem talent, aka, or the skill, whatever you want to call it. I 100% recommend either Spell Inspiration, we'll read it off. After an ally casts an active skill, increase skill damage by 8% and armor pen by 8%, stacking up to 5 times. The effect disappears after casting an active skill. Now listen, this is very, very pertinent, and it all depends on what your strategy is, because if she's one of the heroes that goes last, has a very low speed, then you're going to want to activate Spell Inspiration. Make sure you have the correct heroes before you do this, or she's going to be a waste and never get a chance to attack, depending on who you face. Heck, the enemy Phoenix might wipe her out before she even gets a chance to even see the battlefield. But like I said, it all depends on the speed and what the enemy is rocking out as well, okay? And then the second one I recommend, more of a defensive perspective, is Magical Shield. When HP drops below 50% for the first time, gain a shield that resists damage 2 times, negating damage up to 25% of max HP and lasting 2 turns. After the shield disappears, increase skill damage by 40% for 2 turns. I think this is absolutely phenomenal for her because you're going to want her to go multiple rounds. She'll probably end up doing better, especially if she is a secondary S plus hero. You pair her up with Sophia. Oh man, just because Lelandra, she gets all her buffs when there's 4+ enemies on the battlefield. So she's getting her buffs from round 1, maybe all the way to round 2. Then Sophia can come in and just take the rest out. And yes, she's going to use those buffs. However, you'll have Magical Shield to make up for those buffs in a defensive perspective. So yeah, you might lose some attack and some skill damage, but you're going to be getting some damage resistance and a shield, which is absolutely phenomenal when it comes to this strategy, okay? Like I said, new series coming out in a few months where we actually go over specific strategies. I cannot wait, and I will bring this back up in the future, okay? Now, moving on to the next.
There's no place to hide.
Fagan, let's go. Now I'm too lazy to take everything off my heroes and put them back on just for the video, so I'm just gonna leave everything on. However, when it does come to the gems, I 100% recommend, y'all already know, number 1 is going to be for the light stones, Galaxy Stones, 100%, baby. Get that HP and attack. Let's go. And then for dark stones, I 100% recommend Orchard Stone, wherever it's at. Where are you at? Here we go. Because you get the HP and the crits. Yes, you're going to want to get his crit up because there's certain talents out there that allow him to get more HP or double HP, and it's based off your crit. So if it's crit's low, you have a low chance. If it's crit is high, you have a high chance. Just saying. Okay. So, and 2x of those, and everything I mentioned when it comes to stones will be 2x unless otherwise specified, okay? Now, moving on to the mix, I I'm kind of torn between this one. I would like to put Dragonstone on him where you get the HP and the speed. However, you could rock out Dovestone. Remember, now you're sacrificing 7 to 14% HP for 7 to 14% damage reduction and attack. So it all depends on what your strategy is. Do you want Fagan to be a little faster than usual? Then yes. However, damage reduction really is key. So if you have an armor penetration savvy type enemy, then I recommend going with Dovestone. Get the damage reduction up, especially if he's paired up with multiple tree spears. He could be paired up with a new human hero with the big shield. They're absolutely phenomenal together. So it all depends on what your lineup is and who you are going against. But one of those two would be perfect for Fagan. Now moving on to his skills, when it comes to the 3-star gems, if you get all 6 of those, I 100% without a shadow of a doubt recommend Hardened Shield. I think that's probably the only one that's decent for him. And reduce damage taken from enemies in the back row by 10%. It's pretty much the only good one for him, in my personal opinion. Now moving on to the 5-star gem skill. And again, I would say I would go with probably Shield Protection. Yes, at the start of the turn, grant a shield equal to 12% of max HP to 2 allies with the lowest HP and increase their damage reduction by 12% for 1 turn, stacks with the 2 times. I think that's absolutely phenomenal because that's 12% of max HP to the lowest 2 allies, the lowest 2 HP allies on your side of the field. So that's 12% max HP, just saying. That's 1.2 million HP per 10 million of Fagan's HP. So if your Fagan has 30 million, he's granting a shield of 3.6 million. That is a lot of HP. It will definitely help in the long run when it comes to your heroes, because I know sometimes my heroes, my main attackers, have a very low HP when it comes to Fagan or a Dream or something. So these shields will actually help in 99% of the battles and 99% of the enemies you go against. So like I said, shield protection is great, and I would go from there. Okay, too easy. Now moving on to the next.
I enjoy when the nature is balanced and real.
And we're going to skip Sophia first. We're going to say her for last. Now when it comes to Dream Messenger, one of my favorite defensive heroes in the game, without a shadow of a doubt for the Lightstone X2, I'm going to have to go with Galaxy Stone. You get the HP, you get the attack, because like I said, when she's in her, bear transformative mode, she can still do a lot of damage. I'm talking million, 2, 3, 4 million damage. And if you have her attack up as well, you might as well do both. HP, attack, baby, let's go! So Galaxy Stone X2 for the light stones. Now when it comes to the dark stones, I 100% without shadow of a doubt recommend Orchid Stone. Yes, HP, crit. If you have 2x of those bad boys, you're going to get 14% HP and then 14% crit. Like I said, crit is #1 for her in my personal opinion, especially if you go with my strategy based on the Abyss artifact I have, which is the Destruction Eye, plus the, what's it called? The question mark looking runes Banshee, where it's 60% chance that half the damage she receives goes back to the enemy delivering that damage. And like I said, if you have your HP up high, you're good to go. If you got the crit up high, and she recovers HP as well when she goes into her bear transformative mode, which means you could double that based on the talent you have activated on her. So crit is extremely crucial when it comes to Dream in my personal strategy. But on average, I still would go with HP crit, and I still would go with and I still would go with Galaxy Stone. Okay, now moving on to the mixed gem. Now this is very, very interesting. You could either go with Dragonstone, or you could go with Dovestone. Yeah, so Dragonstone, you're just going to get the HP and the speed. But if you have way too much HP, and it's just an overkill for the enemies you go against, then I would actually switch to Dovestone and pick up that 14% attack and 14% damage reduction, because you can never go wrong with damage reduction, especially if there's a lot of armor penetration on the enemy side of the field. Okay? Those two you can rotate back and forth, or you could just do 1 and 1. Do 1 Dovestone and 1 Dragonstone. And all mainly with Dragonstone, why it's so great is because you have the speed. However, she's not a hero that really needs too much speed, because she's one of those heroes that's going to go towards the back, towards the end of the round, and try to snatch someone up from that front row. But yeah, moving on to her talents. Now, when it comes to Dream, I 100% recommend Hardened Shield, reduce damage taken from enemies in the back row by 10%. That's the only good one here. It really is. It's You could go with Bloodiest Fight and get an 8% increase in crit, but it's only 8%. I'd rather have the damage reduction for one turn, honestly. Yeah, I'd rather have the damage reduction every single turn from enemies from the back row, because usually the back row has the strongest enemies, okay? Moving on to the 5-star gem skill, I would also have to go with Shield Protection. Y'all already know, at the start of the turn, grant a shield equal to 12% of max HP to 2 allies with the lowest HP. We already read this. And the reason why I would choose this is because she's already going to have a super high HP. You might as well deliver a shield to your lowest allies. And imagine if you had Dream, Fagan, and the other shield guy on the same team. They're just granting shields left and right. And right now, my Dream has almost, or just approximately 30 million HP, which is going to be about 3.6 million shields. So that's absolutely phenomenal. So you have 2 of those, one from Fagan and one from her. Just saying, that's 7.2 million that can be absorbed, and you're getting 24% damage reduction. Bro, it's a perfect combination, honestly. Now, with that being said, moving on to the finale. I already know y'all want to see Sophia.
I enjoy when the moonlight shines upon the forest. Will you gaze upon it with me?
Yes, I will. Let's go. Moving on to her gem codex. When it comes to light stones, I'm 100% have to go with Galaxy Stone without a shadow of a doubt. Get the HP on the attack. She's one of those heroes where attack, 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 armor pin, armor pin, armor pin. You already know, so you might as well get the HP and attack. Too easy. Now moving on to dark stones, I'm gonna have to go with Orchid Stone because crit is extremely important when it comes to Sophia. Crit is just as important to Dream as it is to Sophia, because part of Sophia's attributes, part of her talent, or attributes, part of her abilities when it comes to her core skills is she gets an increase in critical damage every time she strikes an enemy. And if they don't perish, if they don't die, she's gaining 24% critical damage, and it stacks up 3 times. So in order to hit a critical hit, do critical damage, you have to hit a critical hit, which goes off of crit. So crit, 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 just saying, okay? Moving on to the mixed, there's only one answer, and that's going to be 100% to go with the Malachite Stone, because you get the HP and you get the armor penetration. If you have 2 of those, that's 14% armor penetration, and that is king. Armor pen and crit is king on Sophia. It's just that simple. And I'll be covering her in a future video because my Sophia shreds. She's maxed out and she shreds. Yes. Now moving on to her skill when it comes to 3-star gems, there's only one correct answer in my personal opinion, and that is Burst Tornado. At the start of the turn, increase crit damage by 20% for 1 turn. Effect disappears after attacking. Like I said, she's all about that crit/crit damage, and you might as well add 20% right here. Too easy. Obviously, it disappears after she attacks, which is fine because that first enemy is going to be Dunsky. Moving on to the 5-star gem skill. Now this one's interesting. However, there's only one I would choose, and that would be Piercing Strike. Increase damage dealt to the enemies with a shield by 30%. Now, lethal attack sounds amazing. Soulbound isn't too bad. However, Sophia's one of those heroes, attack, 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 pen, pen, pen. So I would 100% go with Piercing Strike because everyone's going to be getting a shield on round 1. It's very rare where you don't see a team have shield on round 1. So you might as well get that 30% increase in damage. Too easy. Now with lethal attack, you could choose this, but you know, when dealing damage, increase the damage dealt to the target by 8%, and then it just increases up from there. Like, you could do that, but I think Piercing Strike's where it's at, because we're going into the era of Hero Clash where shields is the next new big strategy to counter some of these high damage heroes, especially when you have the new, you know, God hero, that the female with the big fist, and then you got the new shield human hero, and then now you have the prism runes, and there's so much stuff that's going to happen with Hero Clash when it comes to shields, so look out for that, and I recommend Piercing Strike. Just saying, okay? But with that being said, hopefully y'all enjoyed the S+ Tree Spirit tutorial for the gems and skills of the gem system. With that being said, I'll see y'all in the next one. Greatness manifested. Let's go!
Anything plus elites.